There are a lot of weird high school baseball fields. Many of them are caused by geography or space issues. We get it. It's high school. But what about weird baseball fields at the highest level? Throughout history, there have been odd fields in the bigs. Let's get into it. Huntington Avenue Grounds, Boston, Massachusetts. This was the site of the very first World Series game in 1903 and also saw the first perfect game in the modern era. But it was weird. Home of the Boston Red Sox from 1902 to 1912, Huntington Avenue Grounds is famous for this picture, which shows spectators on the field of play during an actual game. This was likely due to the field's outrageously large dimensions, 530 feet to center, which was later expanded to 635 in 1908. It also had large patches of sand in the outfield and a tool shed in left, which was in play. The Red Sox left for Fenway in 1912, and today the area is occupied by Northeastern University's Cabot Center. A statue of Cy Young was placed where the old mound was in 1993, the Baker Bowl, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Baker Bowl was one of the first jewel box stadiums and was built in 1887 but burned down in 1894. And then, they rebuilt it. This one had some wild features. In 1890, there was a bicycle track around the field and fans were encouraged to ride their bikes to the game and then park them inside and then ride their bikes around the bike track after the last out. The dimensions were absolutely wild, 341 down the left field line and 408 to center, with this weird outcropping that was created when the left field bleachers were added in 1909. It was only 280 to right. Because of this short porch, they installed a huge 60-foot wall in 1920, making this place even weirder. For comparison, the Green Monster is only 37 feet tall. In 1927, two sections along the right field line collapsed because the wood rotted underneath it. It was during a game, and it was filled with people. One person died of cardiac arrest during the subsequent stampede. This was one of the first ballparks to use lights as early as 1932. However, they were only used for exhibition games. In 1935, lightning hit the flagpole in right center and splintered it. The Phillies left in 1938, and today a parking lot sits in its place in a North Philly neighborhood. League Park, Cleveland, Ohio. Another weird park with a long right field fence, League Park in Cleveland was the original home of the failed Cleveland Spiders and then later was the home of the Indians for over 40 years. The park was built inside the Cleveland Street grid, yielding odd dimensions. The fence in left field was 385 feet from home, 460 feet to center, and 290 feet down the right field line. Like the Baker Bowl, batters had to hit a ball over a high fence in right to notch a dinger, and this one was 40 feet tall, still higher than the Green Monster. The left field fence was only 5 feet tall, but listed its height on dating apps as 5'9". The exterior of the stadium was disjointed with the ticket office jutting out from the main structure. After the team left in 1946 and League Park was demolished in 1951, the ticket office was spared and still stands today. In fact, in 2014, the field was restored to the original dimensions and features field turf. And yes, the huge fence is still there and right. So weird back then and still weird today. There is also a museum on the grounds, and it's a pretty neat homage to the past, I must say. Crosley Field, Cincinnati, Ohio. Built in 1911, Crosley Field had a 58-year run as the Reds' home and was one of the smallest ballparks in Major League history. Though left field was 328 and down the right field line it was 366, center field was only 390 at its deepest part. Imagine a big league park today with those dimensions. There was also a sizable hill at the base of the left field fence, extending into center field called the Terrace. Though a hill in play would be absurd in modern times, in the old days they were added as additional seating so that overflow fans could, sit right there on the baseball field during a live Major League Baseball game. The first official MLB night games were played here in 1935, and the last game at Crosley Field was played in 1970, and it was demolished in 1972. And a warehouse occupies a lot that is shaped like the old baseball field. Polo Grounds, New York, New York. Anytime you see a baseball diamond situated in an end zone of a football field, your first thought is, that looks like the Polo Grounds. And yes, this is the OG of messed up baseball dimension. And they played Major League Baseball here. Designed mostly for football, the baseball field was an afterthought, and the lines down the left and right field line were laughably short, 279 to left and 258 to right, while an outcropping in center field brought the distance from home plate to a staggering 483 feet. The power alleys were also ridiculous, with dimensions well over 447 in both gaps. Looking at the overhead shot, you can get an idea on how much ground Willie Mays had to cover for his famous grab in center. In my weird NFL stadiums vid, I said a fan named Bernard Doyle was killed in the stands in 1950 by a bullet, but I didn't give you any context, so here's context. A 14-year-old kid was playing with a pistol about 1,000 feet away and shot it in the air from his rooftop. Talk about terrible freaking luck for all parties involved. Awful segue, but this was the site of the shot heard round the world, a hit that might not have gone out in any of the ballparks today. After the Giants left in 1956, the expansion Mets played 2 terrible seasons from 1960 to 1962 here before moving to Shea. What a great start to the franchise I love, eh? The grounds were demolished in 1963, and apparently some of the worst apartments on earth were built to replace them. Ebbets Field, Brooklyn, New York. As a kid, I used to hear a lot about Ebbets Field all the time, as my dad was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan and used to wax poetic about this place, which was quite honestly pretty weird. The field featured a short porch in right, but a huge wall, which famously had a sign at the bottom that said "Hit sign, win suit," which my dad assured me, given the positioning of the right fielder, that would never happen, which I don't think ever did. Opened in 1913, the original layout had a huge center field about 500 feet from home plate, but as the Dodgers' popularity increased, the need to add stands kept making the field smaller and smaller, and the stands bigger and bigger. However, the capacity was still only 31,000. Ebbets Field had classic architecture, and the exterior has inspired many other ballparks, including Citi Field, but it was often filled with smoke from poor air circulation and had a palpable stench that filled the arena. It was demolished in 1960 and replaced with housing, which leads us to our next field, the LA Coliseum, Los Angeles, California. The Dodgers hastily moved to LA and into the weirdest and dumbest stadium for baseball in the entire history of MLB. Just look at these horrific dimensions as the team crammed themselves into a stadium designed for track and field and football. NASCAR fits better in this place than baseball does. I would think that if a team tried to pull this crap today, the league would veto it. In fact, because of this tomfoolery, MLB actually changed their rules, stating that the distance down either line has to be at least 325 feet. Because of this configuration, Ford Frick ordered a screen to be put up, but the cables, girders, and towers holding it up were in play and were often hit by batted balls. They even played a World Series here and hosted an All-Star game. The Dodgers left this god-awful place after 2 years, and it still stands today as the home of the USC Trojans. This next one was down the road, Wrigley Field, Los Angeles, California. While the Dodgers were playing in the Coliseum, MLB's newest team was playing in Wrigley Field. Not the one in Chicago, the one in LA. Yes, this is basically a smaller replica of the friendly confines, kinda like a Disneyland version of it, complete with Wrigley's weird dimensions. What's crazy is this place was built in 1925, so the Dodgers could have played here, but their greed trumped the lost revenue that they would incur because of Wrigley's paltry seating capacity of only 20,000. The Angels only played here one season, and then 8 years later, Wrigley Field was destroyed. Today, it's an office building. And now for the weirdest of the weird, Griffith Stadium, Washington, D.C. Crammed into a North D.C. neighborhood, the field was pointed in the wrong direction and had the afternoon sun directly in hitters' eyes. Because the team wanted to block views from nearby buildings, the outfield walls were of various heights. The odd dimensions, with it being 400 feet down the left field line, made hitting a home run in Griffith Stadium very difficult. Of course, the weirdest feature is this odd outcropping in center field, a 90-degree block that looks weird AF. Why is it there? Well, the property owners refused to sell to the Senators when the park was being built, so they just said, screw it, it's 1911, who cares? Keep your damn houses. This stadium lasted for 49 big league seasons before the Senators left in 1961. It was demolished in 1965 and is now the site of Howard University Hospital. I want to believe that these houses here are the ones that refuse to sell. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Special shout out to Andrew Clem, whose website, andrewclem.com, is an amazing resource of ballparks of the past. I hope you check it out. Also, please like and subscribe for more interesting videos on sports. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.